Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. To pause amidst a continual barrage of fresh horrors is a radical act. We can stop the constant activity to honor the dead, the lost, the bombed, the starving, the deported, the endings, to defy the systems reliant on this violence and fear and greed. Let us pause and be confused, despairing, rageful, grieving, and perhaps still hopeful together. In these 15 minutes, you are invited to do whatever you need to do to be comfortable, to be present to yourself. In this time together, you can just receive. Each day, Monday through Friday, I share a word or theme, as well as a question. And here are some of the questions that we've been asking. I also share a poem, a song, an exercise based on that theme, and we follow the alphabet. My pace is intended to be slow, it's intended to be deliberate, because we want this to be an oasis in your day, in the grind and the anxiety of our workplaces, to offer a practice that is grounding and regulating and feasible in our busy lives. This is a time to reconnect with yourself amidst everything. And we do this so that we may be more connected to those around us and to the places and spaces we inhabit throughout the day. We do this reconnection because between us is where possibility lives. And as always, this practice is offered at no cost, but I will also share some links for you to be able to get in touch and to support and keep this experiment going. Today's word is simply joy. Can feel like a hard thing sometimes, but it is a choice. It is an orientation to life. And so, no matter where you are on the scale of emotions, on the scale of despair or grief or rage, the question is just a small question. When is choosing joy just a little more possible? Where's the glimmers that we can go towards? And today I'm going to read from a book that I turn to often called Leading with Joy, Practices for Uncertain Times by Akaya, Windwood, and Rajasvini Bhansali. And there's a little story that Akaya writes that I'm just going to read. And then we'll do a bit of a free write. And I will just ask a question and give us some minutes to write about this. Okay. It's raining here in Oakland, a cause for deep celebration. We're in our fifth year of drought, and the rains are a gift in this very dry land. This morning while driving, I noticed three people disembarking from a bus. They all had rain gear on, boots and jackets and hats, when suddenly one of them began to dance. Soon thereafter, the other two also began to dance, so I stopped to watch. As I looked closer, I realized that they weren't dancing at all. They were gleefully stomping through puddles and grinning hugely. I also noticed that they were adults with Down syndrome, and my heart soared. When I was a young woman, I worked for a couple of years coordinating the local Special Olympics, and among my responsibilities was overseeing track and field. Many kids with Down syndrome chose to compete as runners, and I got to know a number of athletes fairly well. I appreciate the frank and friendly way most of them met the world, as well as their lack of concern for the nuances and dynamics of race, class, and gender. I also appreciated the struggles most of them faced living in a society with little room for difference and with a fear and disregard for people with disabilities. Life could be rough on those kids, and yet most of them met the world with a lot of grace and goodwill. So I was doubly grateful to witness these folks dancing through puddles. They moved with graceful gracelessness and exuberant joy, one leading while the others followed, another gift brought by the rain. So I ask you to free write these three questions I'm going to ask. I'll give us each 1 minute for each of these questions. And the first is, when was the last time you jumped in a puddle? It doesn't have to be a literal puddle. What was the last time you really felt that joy that overtook your entire body? Go ahead and wrap that up. I hope that memory brought a smile to your face. What, and the second question is, what might happen to your leadership if you jumped in a puddle more often? What might happen to your leadership when there was more joy? 1 minute. Big sigh for me on that one. And the last question is, who around you could use a little joy? Who around you could use a little joy? 1 minute. Truth is, I could use a little joy, and probably everyone could use a little joy around me. This orientation to joy as leadership, as a crucial part of leadership, is what this book is all about. And I wanted to read a little bit um, from the introduction, just to give you a little sense of what it's all about. Again, leading with joy, practices for uncertain times, by Akaya Windwood and Rajasvini Bhansali. Joy is an approach to leadership centered in wholeness, celebration, and staying in the work for the long haul. It is a state of mind, a way of being oriented in the heart and in the spirit. You cannot think your way to joy. It is a felt, settled state of delight, contentment, confidence, faith, and hope. It isn't located in the ego. Sits next to love and is the yin to the yang of grief. It is an essential part of a human life, a birthright that is often stolen from us during childhood. Joy is a choice, and we need to keep our eyes out for the moments when choosing joy is possible. Reclaiming joy is transgressive. It allows us to step beyond the limits of rigid socialization and transactional habits, and to lead with clarity of purpose and commitment. Joy is dangerous. It is a threat to systems of control and power over, and is therefore one of the best tools we have as leaders making change. It allows us to move from extracting from others for our self-centered benefit towards transformation for all society. Why is this important? Because over the years we've seen brilliant and passionate leaders get lost in fatigue, overwork, bitterness, and doing work that is not satisfying. This is such a loss. Systemic oppressions like racism, sexism, classism, ableism, and ageism can suck the spirit from the best of leaders, not to speak of capitalism and its overwrought focus on productivity rather than intrinsic human worth. Joyless, obligatory, and solely transactional leadership has gotten us into the current fixes we are in so many sectors. We need new paradigms that center joy because it expands our human capacity to lead, sustains us even when times are hard, and allows for new ways to enact and receive leadership. Yes. Joy sometimes may feel difficult to achieve or to feel, or we may think, oh, it's too frivolous or it's silly, but it's paramount. And if you actually look at how movements are leading right now, this joy is present um, for our spirits. Protests of late have been full of joy and rage and grief because they're all part of the human experience. So I ask you today, when is choosing joy more possible? As always, please feel free to get in touch at my website. And if you'd like to keep this experiment and this space going, you can share some resources here. And as always, we end with the Terma Collective. May our eyes remain open even in the face of tragedy. May we not become disheartened. May we find in the disillusion of our apathy and denial a cup of the broken heart. May we discover the gift of the fire and the joy burning in the inner chamber of our being, burning great and bright enough to transform any poison. May we offer the power of our sorrow and our joy to the service of something greater than ourselves. May our guilt not rise up to form yet another defensive wall. May the suffering purify and not paralyze us. May we endure. May sorrow bond us and not separate us. May we realize the greatness of our sorrow and not run from its touch or its flame. May clarity be our ally and wisdom our support. May our wrath be cleansing, cutting through the confusion of denial and greed. May we not be afraid to see or speak our truth or share our joy. May the bleakness of the wasteland be dispelled. May the soul's journey be revealed and the true hunger fed. May we be forgiven for what we have forgotten. and blessed with the remembrance of who we really are. Thank you, and take good care.